Number 1. Death by your own body temperature. Imagine you're stranded in the middle of nowhere. No shelter, no supplies, just you and the merciless elements. It's cold, no big deal, right? You might think you can tough it out, but here's the thing. Your body has a tiny but crucial job to do. It has to keep your temperature in check. Too hot or too cold, you're screwed. If you're too cold, your body goes into full panic mode. Your blood vessels constrict, your muscles shake, and your metabolism cranks up to try and generate heat. It's like an emergency heating system that's running on fumes. But here's the kicker. Once your body temperature drops just a few degrees below normal, you go into hypothermia. Now, hypothermia doesn't just make you feel a little chilly. No, it makes your brain fuzzy and your limbs feel like they're filled with cement. As in, you literally stop being able to move properly. And when your body's like, I'm done, it just lets go of all functions, starting with consciousness. In other words, you could be wide awake, wandering around, and still slowly shutting down like a malfunctioning robot. So yeah, being cold can kill you. Who knew your own body could be such an effective assassin? Number 2, the dark side of water survival. Water's essential for survival, obviously. But what if I told you that drinking the wrong kind of water could actually be worse than drinking nothing at all? You'd probably call me crazy, but hear me out. If you're stranded in the wild with access to fresh water, like, say, a river or lake, you might be tempted to drink it without a second thought. Just don't. That clean water you're staring at might be carrying something far more sinister than you realize. We're talking parasites, bacteria, and diseases that can cause a real nightmare of bodily functions. Take Naegleria fowleri, a brain-eating amoeba. Yeah, that's a real thing. It can enter your body through your nose, perfectly normal, then travel up to your brain and start feeding on it. Guess what happens next? You guessed it, you die. But wait, there's more. Even if the water doesn't have Naegleria fowleri, it could have Giardia, which makes your intestines a whole new level of hell. Basically, your digestive system turns into a war zone, and you're spending the rest of your days on the toilet or worse. So, moral of the story? Not all water is good water, and sometimes it's safer to stay thirsty than to risk turning your insides into a battle royale. Number 3, the smelly truth about dehydration. Let's talk dehydration, because nothing says survival like being slowly turned into a raisin. When you're out there fighting for your life, surviving on whatever you can find, it's easy to forget to drink water. But if you're not hydrated, your body will start doing some pretty gross things to remind you. For starters, your skin loses all its elasticity and starts to look like an old leather bag. And that's not even the worst of it. Your kidneys, those tiny bean-shaped organs, are working overtime to conserve every last drop of water, and they'll do whatever it takes to avoid peeing. Yep, you might start holding onto your urine so tight that your body decides it's better to just stop making it altogether. But here's the kicker. When you don't have enough water, your body literally starts turning on itself. The first thing it does is pull water from your muscles, making them weak and crampy. You can forget about lifting heavy rocks or climbing trees because your body's priority is keeping your internal organs alive, not your pride. Oh, and your breath? That lovely dry mouth smell gets worse, and soon you'll have a mouth so dry it feels like you've been licking sandpaper. Not exactly a good look for survival. So, next time you're out in the wilderness, remember, hydration is life. But you'll probably be too dehydrated to remember, so good luck with that. Number 4, the silent killer of oxygen deprivation. Okay, let's talk about something that's really terrifying in the most subtle way possible. Oxygen deprivation. Now, if you're thinking, well, I can hold my breath for like 30 seconds, no big deal. Let me remind you that there's a big difference between holding your breath intentionally and accidentally not getting enough oxygen. You see, your body is a drama queen when it comes to oxygen. When it's deprived of it for even a few minutes, your brain immediately goes into overdrive. But here's where it gets fun. As you start to lose oxygen, your body goes from, hey, we're fine, to, wait, we're dying, panic mode, engage. Your brain starts to scramble, your heart races, and your lungs literally can't do enough work to keep up. But in case that doesn't sound bad enough, there's the added bonus of losing cognitive function. Your brain starts to shut down slowly and you become disoriented. You can still hear your own thoughts, but they're so scrambled, they don't make sense anymore. And here's the ultimate plot twist. You may not even feel it at first. Oxygen deprivation is like that quiet, sneaky killer that creeps up on you in the middle of the night, and by the time you realize what's happening, it's too late. You pass out, and that's if you're lucky. If not, you're looking at some serious brain damage or, well, death. Oxygen, your body's favorite and least favorite thing all at once. Number 5, the deadly delusion of the survival mindset. You know that classic survival trope where the hero just goes all out and thinks they're invincible because they've got that survival instinct thing going on? Yeah, well, it's not as badass as it sounds. Sure, your body has this nifty feature called the fight or flight response, but it turns out that it doesn't always kick in when you need it most. Let's say you're stranded in the wilderness with nothing but your wits. You think, I got this, but after a few days without food or water, guess what? Your brain starts going into survival mode, and it's not as cool as it sounds. This survival mindset starts messing with your perception of reality. Suddenly, your body's working overtime, you start hallucinating, your sense of time gets wonky, and you lose track of what's important. You might even mistake a snake for a friendly log and end up with a venomous bite. At this point, your survival instincts are working against you. Your mind can't tell the difference between hunger and the desperate need to find a bush to sleep under. And that's when your body starts to deteriorate. The survival mindset sounds good in theory, but when it's applied in the middle of nowhere, your brain ends up convincing you that you're just fine, even though your body is on the verge of shutting down. Moral of the story? Don't let your brain convince you that you're still on top of things. Sometimes your survival instinct might just be setting you up for a spectacularly miserable time. Number 6, the great tolerance of pain until you break. Pain is a funny thing, right? You've been through it, I've been through it. We all know the feeling of pushing through discomfort like the tough guy we pretend to be. But what happens when you push your body too far? Welcome to the world of pain tolerance, where your body plays this little game where it's totally chill until it's not. Here's the deal, the human body can actually handle a lot of pain for quite a while, thanks to a nifty little system that dulls the sensation. It's like your body's personal pain filter, keeping things manageable. But then, when the pain threshold is hit, it's like everything shuts down at once. Your brain hits the off button, and that's when you collapse or pass out. Let's take an example. Imagine you've been walking around with a twisted ankle for hours, the pain constantly growing, but you're like, nah, I'm fine. Your body's been suppressing that pain, letting you walk, run, or even pretend you're in control. Then, at the moment you least expect it, you finally hit the wall. The pain hits you like a freight train, and suddenly it's unbearable. You collapse because your body was just playing the long game, letting you go about your business while it slowly destroyed you from the inside out. So yeah, pain tolerance is a cool superpower until it's not. Your body's way of saying, I told you so, when you've completely pushed it past its limits. Enjoy that moment. Number 7, the truth about fight or flight. It's not always helpful. We've all heard about the fight or flight response. Your body gets flooded with adrenaline, your heart races, your senses go into overdrive. It's like you're the hero in an action movie, ready to take on whatever dangerous situation life throws at you, right? Except, plot twist, it doesn't always work the way you think it will. When you're faced with danger, your body isn't necessarily gearing up to fight or run away in an epic show of bravery. Sometimes your body just panics. Your hands might shake, your brain freezes, or you get stuck in an emotional paralysis where you can't make a decision for your life. Not exactly what you see in the movies, is it? When this happens, you're basically stuck in an endless loop of indecision. Your heart's racing, but you're standing there like a deer in headlights, unsure whether to punch a bear or make a run for it. In fact, some people might even faint. That's right, fainting is actually your body's way of doing fight or flight, but it's the absolute worst possible response. Your brain says, yeah, I don't have a clue how to deal with this, so let's just reboot and pass out. So next time someone tells you to trust your instincts, remind them that your instincts might just leave you curled up in a corner somewhere. Thanks, evolution. Number 8, the survival instinct of animals versus us. It's a well-known fact that animals seem to have this magical survival instinct that allows them to survive even the most ridiculous situations. They know exactly what to do when a predator shows up or when they're hungry. Meanwhile, us humans are just here wondering why we forgot to pack an extra pair of socks in the middle of a forest. Let's take a rabbit for instance. If a rabbit senses danger, it doesn't waste time thinking. It runs, it hides, it does. It's an immediate reaction. Now, compare that to you when faced with a mild inconvenience like losing your car keys. You're not exactly pulling off any heroic survival tactics at that moment, are you? In fact, you probably just panic and search your pockets for 5 minutes before realizing you dropped them in the trash can. Yeah, not exactly survival genius material. While animals get by through their raw instincts, humans have been gifted with the absolute luxury of overthinking everything. That means instead of running for cover when faced with a bear, you might stand there asking yourself, wait, do I fight it or run? I wonder if it's an endangered species. Meanwhile, the bear is already planning its next meal. So, while animals might be out there thriving on autopilot, we're busy debating whether we should panic or have a snack before we act. Number 9, the misleading comfort of being prepared. Ever heard the phrase, it's better to be prepared than sorry? Well, it's a nice thought, but in the world of survival, it's often a trap. People love to buy all the fancy gear for the just-in-case scenario. You know, the big emergency pack with your flares, waterproof matches, energy bars, and of course, a knife that could practically cut through steel. But here's the thing, preparation often gives you a false sense of security. Sure, having a survival kit is great if you ever get stuck in the wilderness or find yourself in some unforeseen emergency. But let's be honest, most of us haven't actually practiced how to use that gear. We buy it, we throw it in a bag, and we assume we're invincible. The reality? You're more likely to end up starving because you couldn't figure out how to use your fire starter. Or worse, you'll find yourself accidentally stabbing your own leg while trying to open your multi-tool. And don't get me started on how you think you're prepared with a map, but your brain starts panicking and makes you unable to read it properly. You can't even figure out which way is north, let alone how to navigate out of the woods. All that gear? Useless. The real survival skill? The ability to stay calm and think through problems. The one thing your overstuffed kit can't help you with? Remaining calm in the chaos. So, next time you're in a survival situation and you're pulling out your emergency whistle like it's going to save you, remember, it's your mind that will get you through, not that brand new thermal blanket you bought last week. Number 10, the risk of overexertion in extreme conditions. Survival isn't just about doing the right thing, it's about pacing yourself. You've probably heard that the human body is capable of incredible feats, right? But here's the reality. Overexerting yourself in extreme conditions can be a one-way ticket to disaster. It doesn't matter if you're trying to run from a bear or carry a heavy backpack over a mountain, you can push your body too far and it'll push back. In an ideal world, we'd all be running marathons and hiking over mountains with ease. But when you're running on empty, whether it's dehydration, sleep deprivation, or sheer physical exhaustion, the body systems start breaking down. It's like your body has a limited supply of energy, and when you burn through it, it won't be long before things start to shut down. Here's the kicker, you might not even feel it right away. Your adrenaline kicks in and you think you're fine, but you're actually running on borrowed time. That's when the body starts to make mistakes, your coordination falters, you lose focus, and suddenly you're in trouble. Next thing you know, you've collapsed from heat stroke or exhaustion, all because you pushed yourself too hard, too fast. So, yeah, survival isn't just about working harder, it's about working smarter. And sometimes the best way to survive is to know when to take a breather and let your body reset. Number 11, the survival myth of sitting tight. There's this strange, almost romantic idea in the survival world that when you're lost in the wilderness, the best thing to do is stay put. You know, wait for help to find you. It sounds so comforting, right? Just huddle in a cave or sit under a tree with your emergency blanket, letting the world come to you. Cue the sound of a chirping bird and a ray of sunlight shining down. But in reality, it's not the greatest strategy. Sure, maybe in a perfect world, help would just magically show up, but in most survival situations, the best chance of finding help comes when you're actively searching for it. Sitting tight while you hope that a rescue party materializes out of thin air is basically just inviting dehydration and boredom to join the party. You might think you're conserving energy by staying in one place, but your body is still at risk. You're not getting the basic nutrients you need, and your chance of being spotted is slim to none. The truth is, unless you're in a super populated area where search teams are likely to find you fast, you're better off trying to make your way to civilization. Sitting tight, by all means, may sound like the safe option, but really, it's just a lazy death sentence dressed up in a survivalist's fantasy. So get up, stretch your legs, and make that survival effort worthwhile instead of just waiting for fate to swoop in. Number 12, the worst way to handle survival stress. Alright, here's the part where the rubber meets the road. Survival situations aren't just physically demanding, they're mentally exhausting, and that mental exhaustion can seriously mess you up. Everyone likes to think that in the middle of a life or death scenario, they'll be calm, cool, and collected. Maybe you'll stay zen while hiking up that mountain or calmly swim across a dangerous river. But here's the reality, stress is your number one enemy in these situations. When the stakes are high, your brain can either be your best friend or your worst enemy. The mental stress of being in a survival situation can override your ability to think straight, making you more likely to panic and make reckless decisions. You might freeze in place when you should move or take unnecessary risks. Stress makes you lose sight of your priorities, like that last sip of water you've been hoarding. But because your brain is a drama queen under pressure, it makes you prioritize anything else. And that's how you end up dying of dehydration because you thought it would be a good idea to swim to that almost there island. Spoiler, you're still not there. The secret to survival? Stress management. Being able to stay calm enough to make decisions that won't get you killed is your true ticket to making it out alive. So take a breath. Don't let your brain turn into a pile of mush, or you'll be the reason you don't make it. Number 13, the unseen dangers of overconfidence. You know that feeling when you think you've got everything figured out? Maybe you've watched a few survival documentaries, read a couple of books, and now you're convinced you're the next Bear Grylls. You're out there thinking, I could survive the apocalypse with my hands tied behind my back and a single shoelace. And that's exactly where things go horribly wrong. Overconfidence is the silent killer of many would-be survivors. When you're too sure of yourself, you start making decisions based on assumptions rather than facts. You might think you can handle any situation just because you've seen someone else do it, but nature doesn't care how many survival guides you've read. It's unpredictable and brutal. That confidence you have can turn into reckless behavior, like jumping into freezing cold water without preparing your body, or trying to build a shelter without checking the weather forecast. Suddenly, you're freezing to death, or worse, trapped under a fallen branch because you didn't need that extra layer of protection. Overconfidence makes you skip the small yet crucial steps of survival. You might assume that you can simply wing it, but that's how people get themselves into life or death situations. The truth? Humility is key. No matter how much you think you know, nature is way more unpredictable than your ego. Always remember. Number 14, the invisible threat of wildlife. Animals are pretty much the last thing we think about when it comes to survival. Sure, we know to avoid bears and snakes, but there are so many other wildlife threats that don't get the same spotlight. For example, let's talk about ticks. These tiny little demons are so small they could probably crawl onto you without you even noticing. Yet, they carry Lyme disease, which, if left untreated, can ruin your entire life. And they're everywhere. You could be walking through some grass, minding your own business, and suddenly you've got a parasite stuck to your skin, injecting its lovely bacteria right into your bloodstream. Oh, and let's not forget about those cute animals, like the ones that look all fluffy and harmless, but are capable of killing you if you don't give them the right amount of space. Take the adorable looking platypus, for example. It's small, it's quirky, and it's got a venomous spur on its back that can cause excruciating pain. Or the cute but deadly box jellyfish. Its tentacles are essentially invisible to the naked eye, and you could end up in the hospital, or worse, without even knowing what happened. Wildlife can be the sneaky little monsters of survival situations. They don't make it obvious that they're dangerous until it's too late. So next time you see a cute animal, remember that they're probably plotting your demise, just waiting for you to make a wrong move. Number 15, the deadly effect of sleep deprivation. Who needs sleep when there's survival to be done, right? It's a common mistake to think that if you're out there in the wild, every minute counts and sleeping is a luxury. You keep yourself awake, thinking you'll catch up on rest once you're safe. But here's a disturbing truth. Sleep deprivation is one of the worst things you can do to your body in a survival situation. Sleep isn't just for recharging your batteries. It's literally when your body and brain repair and reset. Without it, your cognitive functions deteriorate. Your brain starts to lose focus. You can't think clearly. It's like your body's built-in alarm system going haywire. Your ability to make decisions drops, and suddenly, the simplest things, like figuring out which way is north, become insurmountable obstacles. You might start hallucinating, or even worse, fall asleep at a moment when you should be staying alert. At this point, your survival instincts are off and you become a walking disaster. You might accidentally drink contaminated water or fall into a trap. And that's how sleep deprivation, something so simple yet so powerful, can kill you faster than anything else. So next time you're thinking of staying awake to keep watch, remember, a well-rested brain is your best survival tool. Number 16, the silence of the stars, why space is terrifying. Let's talk about survival on a much grander scale, like say, in space. Because believe it or not, space has some pretty terrifying survival issues that go well beyond the cool factor of zero gravity. Imagine being out there with nothing but a thin layer of material between you and the great nothingness. Oh, and did I mention that if you make a mistake, you die in a really unpleasant way. First of all, the biggest threat to your survival isn't the void of space itself, but the radiation. We're talking about cosmic radiation that can penetrate your body and mess up your cells like a microwave zapping a potato. And then there's the lack of atmosphere. Without it, the temperature in space can drop to nearly 270 to 454 bars, which, fun fact, is colder than liquid nitrogen. At least in a desert, the heat's kind of predictable, right? Space, on the other hand, is the epitome of chaos. Freeze to death one moment, boil in your own skin the next. And then there's the silence. No sound in space. You can't even scream if you're in trouble. Not that you'd have time to scream, since even the slightest mishap, like say a tear in your suit, would mean you're out of oxygen and dead within seconds. Honestly, it's the perfect reminder that in the grand scheme of things, we're all just a tiny speck in a big dark void waiting to be forgotten. Survival in space? Yeah, not nearly as fun as it looks in the movies. You'd be better off just staying on Earth and complaining about your Wi-Fi connection. Number 17, the horror of being alone, trapped with your own thoughts. You think you're fine being alone, right? A little peace and quiet, just you and your thoughts. Well, throw yourself in a real survival situation and see how much you like being alone with your mind. People who get stranded for long periods in the wild often report something terrifying. The longer they're alone, the more they lose track of reality. Without human interaction, your brain starts to go a little, well, haywire. Hallucinations become your new reality, and you begin hearing things that aren't there. You might even start seeing people or animals, convinced that you're not alone. Spoiler alert, you are. The isolation messes with your perception of time, and you can't even trust your own senses anymore. Add to that the constant stress of survival, and now your brain's playing tricks on you, making the whole situation feel worse than it actually is. Being alone for days on end isn't just lonely, it's terrifying. Your mind becomes your worst enemy, convincing you of things that aren't real, twisting your own thoughts against you. The worst part? You can't escape it. You're trapped with yourself, and no amount of self-reflection will make you feel better when you're on the edge of insanity. In the end, the true horror of survival is not the wild animals or the lack of food, it's the thoughts you can't escape. Number 18, the dark reality of survival kits. Now, let's talk about survival kits. You've probably seen them advertised, a shiny compact bag filled with everything you'll need to survive any disaster, a fire starter, a compass, a multi-tool, all packed into a tiny bag that promises to be your ticket out of any sticky situation. Sounds perfect, right? Well, here's the catch. Most of these kits are a disaster waiting to happen. For starters, most kits don't contain the right items for the specific survival situation you're in. You might have a bunch of fancy gear for starting fires, but what about a real source of clean water, or a way to navigate if you're lost in a place where GPS doesn't work? Most survival kits are built on generalities, not actual threats, and they're full of tools that are only useful if you're already well trained in how to use them. A fire starter might seem like a good idea until you realize you're too tired to even light a match, and that multi-tool might be a lifesaver if you don't end up cutting yourself with it first. The biggest issue? You've got a false sense of security. You're like, I've got everything I need in this bag, but the truth is, a survival kit is no match for the knowledge and experience you need to use it effectively. Instead of relying on a little bag of goodies, it's better to just learn how to survive in the first place. Survival kits won't save you when you're dehydrated, panicked, and out of your depth. They're more of a placebo than an actual lifesaver. Number 19, the aftermath of a survival situation. Surviving a life-threatening situation might sound like a triumphant victory, like you'd emerge from the woods, chest out, ready to tell your tale of epic survival. But here's the truth. It's not all happy endings. Surviving a harrowing ordeal can leave lasting physical and psychological scars. First, there's the physical toll. You'll likely have lost weight, possibly to the point of being dangerously underweight. Your body will have taken a beating. Bruises, cuts, dehydration, exhaustion. You're not walking out of there without some battle wounds, and those are going to stick with you. Your immune system will be shot, and even if you make it out, your body will still be trying to catch up. But it's the psychological toll that's the real kicker. Surviving something traumatic can result in anxiety, depression, and even PTSD. You might find yourself constantly reliving the ordeal in your mind or having nightmares about what happened. Even simple tasks might trigger a flashback to the survival situation, and you might have trouble trusting your surroundings again. Being in a survival situation doesn't just affect your body, it changes you mentally, and sometimes you can never go back to being the same person you were. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.